Yes, we are. Okay. Just send a quick message to everyone in the chat. I actually need to rename my stream already because I didn't put Lobby B. Okay, thanks for bearing with that. Okay, welcome. We're on our third season now of esports. Back again for the start of season 16, actually, of GT7 and Aero League Racing. And we've got quite a few interesting guys taken to track today. So we got half the drivers in this lobby for qualifying and half the drivers in Pyro's lobby. Otto Ration is the host of this lobby, so if he ends up qualifying in lobby A, this will turn into lobby A's lobby. So the way that it's going to work is you've got 12 drivers in this lobby. It's like Ahmed is currently the quickest since I've joined anyway, and the top 2 in qualifying will be guaranteed moving to lobby A, because we're going to have 14 drivers in lobby A and 10 in lobby B. So yeah, top 2 will guarantee it. But obviously there could be far more than 2 qualifying. So we've got Ahmed here for Falcon. Looks like he's on the pace. Fluffy Butt just behind him by 0.2 of a second. A little bit of an interesting battle going on between him and Alessandro. Alessandro is similar pace to Fluffy by the looks of things. He is a new driver for Falcon, but no stranger in ALR, because he has actually won a race last season in Tier 1. So he's a very quick driver, one to look out for progressing into Lobby A for the race. Hollywood, back again for Kavar, the Kavar team captain. He is in the M6 just like his teammates Latari or Joubert. He is a new Kavar driver. We got Snipes in V2, obviously a very incredibly quick driver. Maybe the one to watch in qualifying for being the quickest in this lobby. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Autoration's made the jump from Panthera across to V2, so he's making his V2 debut today. Kaoken is in our new team, Project Racing United, new to ALR. He is in the Renault there, which should be pretty good around here. MBR Pix is another Renault Project Racing United driver. He's just chilling on the side of the road there. We've already seen Ahmed. And then in the pits are Turbo Tony, another Project Racing United Beetlejuice, who's just coming out. He is a new driver for Falcon. Excited to see what he can do today. Doesn't look like his livery's been added to his car yet. And then we've got Eroticos, who raced a few times, well, basically for the majority of V2's races last season. He's back again trying to get into Lobby A for the first time this season. So we've got just a minute or 2 before we actually start qualifying here, and yeah, it looks like everything's working nicely. Everyone's in. The lag seems pretty decent as well, which can be quite difficult because a lot of these drivers are racing from the other side of the world. But yeah, it seems to be looking pretty solid right now. Excuse me. Let me just get Pyro's lobby up on my phone so I can actually see what's going on there as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens today. Really big opportunity for all these guys to get to their best ever results in ALR. Falcon really did their homework in the off-season and got some really solid drivers. This lineup is easily Falcon's strongest lineup that they fielded in ALR. I'm expecting all 3 of them, to be honest, to be in Lobby A. This Beetlejuice guy, I know absolutely nothing about this. He's Finnish, which I didn't actually know that before, so interesting. Seems to be on the pace of Alessandro so far, so that looks pretty good. I know 21s will be possible. I have a feeling the pole time will be in the mid to high 21s, but I do think a low 22 should be comfortable for the cutoff between Lobby A and Lobby B. Maybe even as high as 22.5 could be the cutoff time. So that's what you really want to think about during qualifying as a target time when these guys complete their first laps. Joubert is actually the quickest out of everyone, so this guy seems to have some pace. The M6, I'm expecting to be a strong car around here, like it's pretty much everywhere. Looks like qualifying is getting started now. You love to see it. So I'm assuming Autoration's going to get host privilege and be the first one out on track. Here he goes. Quite a short lap, so I'm expecting lots of lap times and lots of improvement as the session wears on. So we got the Alfa Romeo of Autoration. The Alfa was only driven by one driver last season, who's Fluffy, but it got a bit of a buff in the most recent update. Not for this track though. This track is on the low speed update BOP settings, which did not get updated at all. So yeah, an interesting one. The tyres last a very long time on the Alfa, and with the nature of some of these races, it's a real mix between whether one stop and two stop is the viable strat. So that just makes it easy because this car can easily do a one stop and it might give it some extra performance in those races. This is a very high tyre wear track. It's also a track with an incredibly short pit lane. I think you can get in, change your tyres and come back out all within 9 seconds sorry, to correct that, you'd lose 9 seconds to the passing car behind through that pit stop. So if you are pitting for soft tyres fairly often, it can really keep you at the front of the field instead of going around pretty slowly once the tyres start to wear. It is quite noticeable. So here's Otto. He's about to start his fastest lap. Let's ride on board with him as he tackles some of these corners. Down to third, really sliding through the corner. That is not the optimal way to take it. You want to minimize the traction, that squealing sound that you can hear as much as possible. He's using all the tyre life in his car, all the way down to first gear, so one of those cars that go all the way down to first. Sliding through that corner as well, taking so much of the exit, which is the optimal racing line really, going as wide as you can to get on the throttle as quickly as you can. Now this is the trickiest corner and the most important to get a really solid exit. Looks like he had good traction on exit there as we go down the only straight really, if you can even call it a straight. And you have to lift very slightly. Let's see if he brakes. He does brake quite heavily there to make the corner. It looks like a pretty slow one there. He's going to lose a bit of time as a result of that in the run down to this one. Again, you can eat a lot of that curve. He goes very wide, almost a little bit too wide, but keeps it right off the gravel, which is incredibly close to this part of the track if you make a slight mistake. But he's kept it on the tarmac so far. Nearly put a tyre on the grass there on the corner entry, but just about got away with it. Got a nice exit as well as we head down to the final corner. A really tricky cambered corner here. Cutting the grass a lot, but that's absolutely fine. And now he's going to take a tight entry for the rest of the lap to minimize the time just a little bit further. It's a 23.6, so expecting the times to start coming down after that. Fluffy Butt's going to respond 4 tenths quicker at 23.2. So remember we were talking about 22.5s being enough. Alessandro is a 23 flat, so there is a lot to improve on there. He's also in a little bit of traffic here. The times are coming in. We've got Kaikkonen in P6. Hollywood has just set the fastest time in the M6. He is the first man in the 22s, 22.9 for Kavar Hollywood. Really solid opening lap for him. Fluffy Butt is in P3 currently as well. We've got Turbo Tony really solid in P4 here. Then Autoration is in 5th. Snipes in 6th, expecting him to improve a lot. Let's ride on board with Snipes for the rest of this lap and see how he improves. Really wide entry into that corner. That's going to cost him. He's already half a second down, so there's not much point focusing on him. Let's ride on board with Beetlejuice, our new driver for Falcon. So he's currently in P9, 1.8 seconds off. He is currently purple though. He's about to run into MBR Pix here, who gets out of the way. So that is very fortunate for Beetlejuice. His lap isn't hindered at all there. A little bit too wide on the exit, loses a bit of traction, which will cost him a little bit on this run down the hill. But he is eating up the corner very nicely there, using the full width of the track. Looks like someone's gone into the number boards there. He's still looking purple. We're looking for a P1 for Beetlejuice on his debut, and he's pretty close to getting it. He's got a clear run down to the finish line as everyone's starting to finish their second laps. Fluffybutt just goes quickest, but what can Beetlejuice do? And he's only second, so that was a great lap for Fluffybutt. Fluffybutt up in P1 ahead of Beetlejuice. Alessandro has also overtaken Kavar, who can improve again to go back up to P1. So it's currently a Kavar 1-2 in qualify here. Absolutely great performance so far from the two M6 drivers. Beetlejuice again going purple here. Let's ride on board a little bit with Alessandro and see if he can respond. Ahmed improves to P1 as well, so we've got a new leader in qualify here, GT Ahmed. Everyone seems to be improving as the laps are going on. Alessandro is showing as purple right now as well. Now again he's up. He's only up on his own time, so he's lost the purple here, Alessandro. So it's looking good. He could potentially still slot up into second or first if he has a really tidy end to the lap. It looks like he's catching Kaioken TV a little bit now as well as the lap finishes. It looks like he's got so much more grip actually, and he is nearly 0.3 of a second up. This is going to be a big improvement for Alessandro. Last corner now, and he takes a much tighter angle. Kaioken goes into the pits. That might have cost Alessandro a little bit there. Let's see if he's still up. He's looking for at least 0.3 here, and he only improves by less than 1/10, so that has cost him the 0.3 of a second, that last corner with the driver in front going into the pits. Beetlejuice comes into the pits himself, so he is on low fuel and fresh tyres to try and find 0.4 of a second really is what's needed. Ahmed's got a 0.2 of a second lead. He's out again. Is he going to improve again? This one is, well, it's showing him as his fastest, but it's a 22.2, sorry. I'm just confusing myself because it's showing the different lap in purple on the right there. So another improvement for GT Ahmed. He's now got a gap of 0.4 of a second on P2. We've got both Kavar cars in the pits. It looks like Fluffybutt might have actually reset to pits there. But Hollywood is back out. It looks like he's on softs. They're both out of the pits now. See if they can improve. GT Ahmed isn't up on his time at the moment. Beetlejuice isn't on his fast lap yet. Let's see what Alessandro is going to do now. We're almost 7 minutes in. He's 0.4 up. That is absolutely massive. He's primed to slot himself into that massive gap between Ahmed and Hollywood. As long as he can nail this final corner. He's not got a car in his way now, so it should be a pretty solid exit. And now the run down. Is it going to be P2? It is, and he's less than 1/10 off of GT Ahmed now, and he's going around for another lap. Let's rejoin Beetlejuice. He is coming around the final corner now. I think this might be to start his lap. Let's just see. Yeah, he is. Okay, let's see what Beetlejuice can do. We've got three Falcon cars in the top 5 and 2 Kavar cars. So these are the two teams that are really performing so far today. We've got Snipes outside the top 8, which is really surprising to see. Eroticos sets a faster time. It's 24 flat. These guys at the top are in the 22s right now. And Beetlejuice is slightly faster. It's enough to get himself ahead of Fluffybutt, but I think he might have been expecting a bit more. After we see Beetlejuice's lap, we will join Hollywood and see how he can respond on his first hot lap. And now he's down, so yeah, a pretty bad exit. Whoa, we've got Autoration completely span on the track there. Good job he was off the racing line. And a huge slide through the corner for Beetlejuice, which looks pretty fast actually. So we'll see if that actually helped him or hindered him in the next split. Lotari improves to a 23.2, so he's in P7 now. Beetlejuice is now in the blue again, so he's about to set another quickest lap. Alessandro in the pits for a last run himself. bit of understeer, sorry, in that corner. Beetlejuice looking to improve, even if it's slightly. It is enough to get him up to P3. It is a Falcon 1-2-3 at the moment. That's quite extraordinary. I did have them as my pick as a bit of a dark horse to win this whole season, and it's going pretty good for them so far. Hollywood is responding. He's over a 10th and a half up on his previous best time, so that would get him ahead of Beetlejuice at least. Let's see what he could do in this last corner, if he could really nail it. Oh yeah, beautiful. Now he's going to stay tight to the right. And it's up into P3 for Hollywood, so he's going to have another lap to do it. Fluffy Butt didn't really nail his final lap. Alessandro's on an out lap. We've got going to rejoin GT Ahmed, who is P1 at the moment. He is currently purple on his own best time, so he's looking to find at least another 10th or 2 just to be safe from any last minute improvements from Alessandro or Hollywood. And it looks like he's lost a 10th of a second in that second sector. The Gen X looks pretty strong around here. I was reminded today that BX Royal actually got a double win after the physics update the last time we raced at Brands Hatch in Tier 1. So yeah, it's got good acceleration. It doesn't corner too well, as you can kind of see there, but the acceleration on the exit of corners when you do make the corner well really compensates for that. And that's probably why we're going to see a few Gen X's on the track this season. We see Latari improving and Beetlejuice improving. Beetlejuice stays 4th though. And this is going to be the final lap for everyone else. What can GT Ahmed do? Ooh, a little bit of traction loss there on the exit. It might still be strong. And it is not an improvement. He's 2 tenths down in the end. Alessandro is not setting a lap, so let's join with Hollywood. He is the best placed man to potentially catch GT Ahmed. He's less than a 10th of a second down at the moment. He is 23 seconds down now. I think we might be pretty much done and dusted then if some of these drivers are insanely down on their lap times. Otto off track, unfortunately. He's finished. Snipes, what's he going to be able to do? He's in the 2 minutes, so he's not going to be improving either. Unfortunate there for Snipes, actually. 11th out of 12 drivers. That is not the Snipes that we're used to seeing. So, huge congratulations to Falcon. The top 2 are absolutely going into Lobby A, and yeah, it's the other guys. Well, yeah, the top 5 are all pretty close in time. So I think maybe they all have a decent shout at being in Lobby A. We have to see what the times in that one end up doing. They've still got a couple minutes left, so let's just wait until this times itself out so I can actually get the timings up and start inputting them so that I can get this spreadsheet out head quick. The awkward pit phase where I'm buried in a Google sheet typing in lap times, which sometimes I get wrong. So Ahmed, the man to beat. 21.7 is currently the fastest time in Lobby A with Mahata. That is half a second quicker than what Ahmed managed. So maybe, yeah, getting into Lobby A is going to be tough then. Oh, one other thing I need to do. I need to put the chat on slow mode, because that's what I said we were going to start doing. Okay, why is this still carrying on? There we go, it's finally ended. That was the longest period ever. So, okay, let me just type everything in quickly. Beetlejuice 22.604. Three Cavars in the top 7 as well, that's really good. And then we've got Otto in P8. Otto, the top V2 driver on his debut. That's good to see. Turbo Tony, the highest. Project Racing United driver. 23.032. We've got Kaioken 23.67. MBR picks, unfortunately, looks like he's going to be starting his first race in ALR at the back of the grid. Got Eroticos 23.678 and 23.716. Okay, now I just have to wait for the other lobby to finish their final laps. The new people must be thinking that A+ driver's only 9th. No, you did better than 9th. 8th in the end, so not too bad. So a 21 point, what is that? .658. Okay, that's insanely fast. So Project Platypus are heavy favorites going into this season, I think it's safe to say, with a 21.658. So Mohata ahead of Javi, Zico, Owen, and Richard. Oh yeah, nice to see VSR Richard in the top 5 there, in what's a pretty quick lobby. Come on. They're doing the same thing that happened to us after, where everyone seems to be doing an extra lap on slowdown. Okay, Pyro's back in the lobby. Let's write all these down. So Javi P2, 21.878. Pretty fast. Zico 20. Oh wow, there's a big gap after that. Zico 22.276. Owen 22.278. Richard 22.288. Keplero 22.346. Big Beaver 683. Okay. Next page, please. Oh, Pyro's reading. There we go. Oh, Perry. Wow. Not a good qualifying for Perry. $23,485. And then Peachy 23,102. Okay, so yeah, we got 2 Kavar boys in Lobby A for the first time ever. You love to see it. Let me just sort out the everything. So Mahata first. Ahmed was actually 3rd on the grid, so first in our lobby, but 3rd on the grid. Pumpkin Patch is actually on pole position in Lobby B, ahead of Turbo, Peachy, and Lotari. So let me just share this in the chat. And then we'll be good to go. Once everyone does their shuffle. We have to figure out a better way of doing this, but I just have no idea what would be a better way at this point. Okay, we're in. Nope, not that. Okay, whilst everyone ends up doing their shuffles, I'll let you know who is in Lobby A and who's in Lobby B. So Mahata, Pole, and Lobby A ahead of Javi, Arix Javi. Then Ahmed for Falcon, Zico for Project Platypus, Owen for Aero. So loads of different drivers, teams it represented in the top 5. Sixth is Richard. Then we got Keplero for Arix. Alessandro on his debut for Falcon. Hollywood is in the top 10 in P9. Then we've got Big Beaver in 10th. Beetlejuice is 11th. So all 3 Falcon boys in Lobby A. We've got Dan the Man in 12th, Perry 13th, and Fluffy Butt is 14th. And that rounds out Lobby A. In Lobby B, the lobby that we will be watching tonight, we've got Pumpkin Patch on pole position ahead of Turbo, Tony. Then we've got Peachy and Lutari, Auto Ration and Chris. Kaioken, Eroticos, Snipes, and MBR picks rounding out the top 10. We got the top points in Lobby B will be for the top 7 only. So we have 8 points, on offer for P1. We also have a point for the fastest lap as well. So maximum 9 points for Lobby B to represent slightly fewer drivers, at least for the first portion of the season, as we've got 8 teams this time around. The Renaults are slow. Okay. I'm surprised. I'm surprised to see that. We've also got 3rd place, 1,000th ahead of 4th place, who is 2,000th ahead of 5th place as well, which is, excuse me, pretty wild. So we got Auto, he's going to be setting the grid, and then we'll get going. Once everyone just readies up, so if you're listening and you haven't readied up yet, please do so. So this is going to be 52 laps. I'm expecting way more pit stops in this race compared to what we would normally see, because like I said in qualifying, the pit lane is insanely small, especially if you're not refueling. They're going to be starting on half fuel, so I'm expecting them all to do a full stint, probably on softs. I think potentially would be getting away with it on softs. Let's have a quick look on track actually and see what kind of tyres people are on. So Erotico's on the softs. It looks like a lot on the mediums. Latari on the softs as well. Everyone else, it looks like they're on the mediums apart from Pumpkin Patch. Really smart from Pumpkin Patch starting in P1 on the soft. He should be able to build a nice little cushion for himself heading into the first pit window. Potentially get a whole pit stop ahead of some of these other guys who might be battling on very similar pace on the mediums. So yeah, really good call for hit by him. Then it looks like the next few down, Turbo, Peachy, Lotari, will all be starting on mediums by the looks of it. So yeah, interesting one. Starting soon, we're going to get Season 16 underway, although technically this is Season 3 of the Esports League. I don't know what one to call it, but never mind. The other thing to note, all 3 V2 and all 3 Project Racing United drivers are in Lobby B to begin with. Remember, Pyro did predict Racing United would beat Pegasus in points this season. So it's not got off to the best of starts. Let me get on the track before everyone starts. display driver names. Yep. Here we go. Okay, perfect timing. So we got the South African Pumpkin Patch representing Pegasus on pole position here. His teammate down in 6th. We have 5 lights on. Round Brands Hatch. Lights out and away we go, and everyone is looking very squirrely off the line there. Looks like a fantastic start from Peachy in the Renault, but it looks like Pumpkin Patch might stay ahead into turn 1. Everyone going pretty wide there. Otto getting a really good exit and has a run on Turbo Tony into the next corner. Pumpkin Patch looking fairly comfortable in P1 on the softs. Peachy also on the softs, following him around in that Renault. Really solid start for him. Now we got Otto on the mediums, the highest medium runner in the Alfa Romeo, just ahead of Lotari, who's worked his way up into 4th position as well. So really tight racing between these two. They're still side by side going into the next corner. And it's going to be the long way round for Joubert. And they're still side by side with Tony nearly losing the car behind them. And it looks like the BMW's managed to pull ahead of Otto as we head down to this really fast left-hander. Snipes making huge progress up the grid, nearly coming together with Otto. They managed to negotiate it really well. We got Turbo Tony and Kaioken just behind as well. So up at the front, it looks like a solid getaway for Pumpkin Patch and Peachy. Peachy looks like he's chasing down Pumpkin Patch a little bit right now. That is difficult to say in a row. Lutari is on the soft, so he is another one who'll be trying to catch up to those two now that he's passed all of the medium runners. We got Otto on the mediums and Snipes on the mediums. Sounds like someone went off track there. It looks like MBR Picks lost it and he's dropped back down to 10th. Eroticos in P9 chasing down Chris. Both of them lost a little bit of time. And then everyone else seems to be in the lead chase. Looks like Turbo Tony's losing a bit of time to Snipes now. Snipes is settled in just nicely behind Autoratti on this. These are two Alfa Romeos as we got Turbo Tony nearly losing it there. Managed to regain control. And yeah, retakes the corner, but that's allowed Chris and Eroticos to catch back up to him. So at the front, Latari's nearly lost it himself on the soft. What a catch that was. And yeah, he survives for now. He absolutely cannot afford for Eroticos to overtake him at this stage of the race. His tyres are much fresher and he needs to build a gap to these medium runners before he has to go on the medium tyres. Now we've got Eroticos and Snipes doing a negotiated overtake there for position. The teammates getting out of the way of each other, and Snipes is now the lead driver on medium tyres. So he started all the way down in 9th, has worked his way very quickly up to 4th, and this is potentially a race winning situation for Snipes because he is the lead driver on the medium tyres. He's going to probably go a little bit longer than the soft runners can and try something a little bit different. He should be leading at various points in this race in the next 50 laps that we've got. And he's already dropped Autoratti by 0.6 of a second. So we crossed the line. Yeah, lapping in the mid 20. Well, actually, yeah, that came out as a mid 24. It didn't log on the right. Ooh, nearly goes very wide. Otto nearly follows him as well. Let's see what's happening a little bit further forward. Joubert is catching up to Peachy. So Peachy's been had an issue somewhere because he's now dropped 2.7 seconds behind Pumpkin Patch. He must have had a little moment, and yeah, Lotari is catching up to him pretty well. So it's leading to be a pretty solid day for Kavar, with Lotari in the podium positions at the moment and the other two drivers in Lobby A right now. So the gap currently stands at 3.2 seconds. Pumpkin Patch is looking very comfortable. He's got the fastest lap of the race as well, a 23.1. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good for him. His teammate, on the other hand, is currently outside the points. He's stuck behind Turbo Tony, and they are 16 seconds off of his teammate. So it's looking like a real uphill battle for Chris to be able to get points at this point. Turbo Tony doing a little bit better than his teammate MBR Picks, but we've seen him in the walls a little bit, and that's why he's so low down. Eroticos has dropped off the back of... well, actually, it looks like he's starting to catch up to Kaioken. Kaioken is part of the lead pack at the moment, who haven't been in the wars by the looks of things. So Eroticos with a 24 flat compared to Kaioken's 24.2, so potentially could get another point or two today, Eroticos, with some overtakes. It's a long way to go. Snipes has a half-second penalty, which is going to be a little bit awkward because Eroticos is his teammate and won't want to really get an overtake done potentially might look to do a bit of a bump draft instead. We'll have to see what happens between them. But yeah, quite easy to get penalties in some of these corners around Brands Hatch. You have to be very precise, not only to get the fastest exit, but also to avoid any unwanted time penalties as well. Roscoe looks like he's doing his best lap so far. Snipes looked momentarily like he went off track on the exit there. So a little bit flustered is Snipes at the moment, and he's dropped to 7.8 behind Pumpkin Patch, and you can add potentially another second onto that as well. Let's see how harsh this penalty line is compared to where it is on track. There's Latari, not too far ahead. He started to catch Peachy there. Snipes is staying ahead of Auto, so they are carrying on, but the gap has expanded on the lead to 8.8 seconds. At the front, Latari is catching Peachy, so let's stick with these guys for a little bit. Let's ride on board with Latari, making his debut in ALR tonight, and seems to be doing pretty good. Really late on the brakes there, feeling a lot more confident than Peachy, nearly actually collecting him on entry into that corner, but yeah. It looks like he's got bags of pace in this BMW so far. And Peachy's a little bit wide on the exit of that corner, but absolutely rescued despite the fact that Latari was purple there so far in that lap. He, yeah, lost a bit of traction, and he's lost 1.3 seconds now on Peachy. So pushing a little bit too hard potentially, feeling like the overtake was close. I think he should be able to catch Peachy again based on the form that we saw prior to that battle. And this is good news for Pumpkin Patch. He's now stretched his lead to 5.4 seconds. This is the most confident that I've seen a Pumpkin Patch perform in ALR to date. Obviously, there's only a few drivers on the soft tyres, but he's really not put a foot wrong, lapping in the solid 22s and 23s at the moment. Going to be some decent points today by the looks of things for Pegasus. 6 seconds now is the gap on Peachy, and if you're looking at the tyres, Pumpkin Patch is using some more of his tyre life compared to Peachy in this Renault, who's already been caught by Latari just at the start of this next lap. So yeah, I think it's time to follow Latari again. He was getting very close at this corner on the previous lap, and he's only 0.3 of a second back as it stands, and again struggling on the traction. Maybe a little bit of dirt, yeah, coming into play there as well. Peachy already is extended by well, it'll be 0.3 of a second by the time we get to the next corner. Some more breathing space for Peachy. Remember, Peachy part of the Arix team, who are the defending champions heading into this season. That was beautiful by Latari, and Peachy might be caught around the outside here. Let's see what happens. Peachy just staying ahead and shutting the door. Now Latari is going to be forced around the outside if he wants to make a move here. It's really tricky corners to get a move done, and Peachy taking a much later entry into the corner and keeping the position now. But once again, Latari has the run on Peachy. He's going to get into the inside line, and Peachy doesn't allow it to happen. They both back out a little bit before the corner, and it might be another good exit from Latari. No, he loses a bit of traction mid-corner and can't get the overtake done there. So Peachy survives for now, and this is good news for Snipes behind. Despite his trials and tribulations and his half-second penalty, he is only 2 seconds behind now on his medium tyres. So at least a P2 is looking very realistic, and we'll have to see what happens between Snipes and Pumpkin Patch later in the race. There he is. You can actually see him from Latari's point of view. They've been lapping in the 24s, these guys, whereas Pumpkin Patch has been as high as the 22s already, which is why they're not really making much progress. Also lapping in the 24s is Snipes. 24.1 at the last 2 laps in a row is insane pace on the medium tyres. So just struggling a bit in qualifying, Snipes, but has really found his stride. He's now dropping Auto a little bit now as well. Auto's back there, just trying his best to stick with him, but Snipes looks like the lead V2 driver at the moment. have a little look further down as well. Kaioken is sticking with them fairly decently in his Renault. So the Renault is pretty popular in Lobby B today. Then we got Eroticos a little bit further back, again in the Renault. We got a GTR for Turbo Tony, who's got his hazards on. I was like, is his game paused? But no, I think he just is currently racing with his hazards. So outside the points, Turbo Tony and Chris, who's dropped MBR picks by quite a way, and he's lapping in the 25s now. Let's see what this lap is for him, a 26.8. So again, he's a couple of seconds off where we're used to seeing him, really. So maybe he didn't have much time to practice today, and he's paying the price for it now. And then MBR Picks has managed to work his way up into the 26s. Let's see if this is an improvement. Another Renault driver. This time it's in the 27s. Okay. You might see some lapping because it's quite a short lap around here. A little bit later on in the race. But yeah, Pumpkin Patch, let's just have a look at his tyres. He's about 40% worn on the front left. Once they get above 50%, there is like a significant tyre drop off. You lose potentially a second a lap. It depends on the how the corners are, really, because it could be a lot more than that. So we'll have to see what his tyre drop off is like at the moment. He's been lapping in the 23s the last 3 laps. And he's again in the 23s. He's still in a low 23, so he's not experiencing that drop-off just yet. Peachy has dropped Latari a little bit on this lap. He is going to be lapping in the 24s. Latari in the 25s. He must have had a little mistake. Snipes in the 24s. So those medium tyres looking very fresh at the moment, and it might only be a lap or two before he is he's already only a second behind Latari, so he might find himself in the top 3 before too long. We'll have to see if he can negotiate an overtake. He is going as quick as quicker than he has previously, whereas the soft tyres are starting to drop off now. Looks like Otto Ration might have some company fairly soon as well. Oh, a mistake for Latari on entry into the corner. So easy to do, and Snipes just swoops on through there. A very easy position gain for Snipes in the end, after what was probably just putting his tyre a little bit on the grass and going a little bit too deep. Now he's caught up pretty well back up to Snipes, though. He hasn't let him just start driving away. He wants that position back. He is still on the soft tyres, so they should give him a bit of an advantage. Still, they've not reached. Well, actually, they're only about 30% worn compared to Pumpkin Patches, so he's doing pretty well in terms of his tyre management. So we are just about to complete our 9th lap here at Brands Hatch. Potentially that's the 8th. Yeah, 9th lap. There we go. And yeah, Joubert has, also known as Latari. I'm going to keep probably going back and forth between them two. Also a little bit wide onto the edge of that corner, but I'm going to stick with this battle because Joubert is really sticking close to Snipes now. So it's a bit unfortunate for him because he seems to have found all of his pace and Snipes overtook him, or potentially it's just Snipes looking a little bit too much in his rear mirrors. This is where Latari made his mistake on the previous lap. He's sticking nice and tight in this corner. Basically took it as well as he possibly could, because look at the gap between him and Snipes is only 0.2 of a second. He might think about a little lunge into this next right-hander. Not at the moment. And he's still sticking pretty close. Just having a quick check at what's happening over in Lobby A. Looks like Mohata has a decent lead ahead of Javi, Owen, and Dan in P4. So 2 aero drivers in the top 4 there at Lobby A. So Snipes seems to be creating a little bit of a gap now. It's extended to half a second. The back in the 23, so the back on the pace. Snipes actually a 24 flat, which is his fastest. So yeah, as you can see, the softs are still slightly better on Latari. Also is having a little bit of an issue himself, because we've got Kaioken, the Racing United driver, in at P6, looking for an extra position here. Also struggling a little bit through that corner, lost a little bit of time. The gap is under 0.3 of a second now. So he needs to nail this exit and he should be safe, at least on the straight. looks like a pretty good exit from Kaioken as well. Again, the gap is under 2/10 now. It's probably not going to be enough to have a go. Otto is positioning his car a little bit defensively, anticipating maybe a move, but there was nothing really on there. And yeah, pretty decent racing here from Otto. He's being very consistent in his cornering. He's not losing too much time, even if he is making a micro mistake into the corners. Oh, and just as I say that, he is off track, and this is going to be an easy top 5 position for Kaioken. Great overtake there, stuck it as close as possible, applied the pressure, and Otto is deciding to come into the pits with a very unique pit entry there. I've never ever seen that before. Why not just stay on the track? I mean, is he going to avoid the 3 seconds? Let's have a look. Does that avoid 3-second penalty? I thought you had to keep 2 tyres on the track at all times. I had absolutely no idea. Right, he's out in P8. Looks like he put in quite a bit. Yeah, he's got half a second penalty, so I'm guessing that's what that gives you. Okay. Well, let's see how this works out for Otto. He's obviously trying a very different strategy to everyone else. Let's join Pumpkin Patch. We've not given him much love because he's just built an incredible 10.5 second lead in these opening 12 laps. So yeah, he's basically got a pit stop in hand without putting in any fuel. That's the advantage that he's got. The problem is going to be when he comes in for some new tyres. Let's see if it's this lap. If I was him, I'd be staying out as long as possible. He does stay out. He does risk coming out in traffic, and these guys will be on worn medium tyres compared to his fresh whatever set he puts on. So very comfortable for Pumpkin. Peachy is now 1.7 ahead of Snipes, and with approaching like the crossover point really, Peachy is lapping in the 24.4s compared to a 24 flat for Snipes. He's actually managed to get into the 23s the previous lap, even though he's being hassled a lot by Latari. He's actually coping with the pressure pretty well and still catching up to Peachy. So this is still looking pretty good for Snipes. He's 12 seconds off the lead, but they've been on different tyres the entire time. So they are lapping very similarly at the moment as well. Looks like Snipes might have to come into the pits on this lap, so little note then, the Alpha doesn't seem to be great on its fuel compared to some of these other cars. It seems to be good on its tyres, but not its fuel. And Snipes really slides through that corner, and that is going to put him under a little bit more pressure, losing a couple of tenths there to Peachy as well. And let's see if any of these drivers are coming into the pits. Pumpkin Patch is staying out again. He could probably get one more lap, maybe 2 at a push, but that front left on his soft tyres, it is not looking too great. Peachy could keep going for an incredibly long time. We know that the Renault is amazing on its fuel, but instead he's opting to come into the pit. Snipes is following him as well. Looked like Snipes actually hit the wall on the way in. I think he lost a few tenths. Kaioken is carrying on, as is Lotari. So Lotari's been released. Now this is his chance to put in 1 or 2 really good hot laps before he pits to try and get an undercut done on some of these guys, but he goes a bit deep into that corner, really wide all the way around, so he's going to lose a bit of time there. Pumpkin Patch still staying out, Kaioken stayed out, Orotikos has stayed out as well, and then we've got the GTR of Turbo Tony looking really good on its tyres, it's got to be said. He's 25 seconds back at the moment, and then Peachy has come out quite a way ahead of everybody after coming out of the pits. It's 12 seconds ahead of Chris, who is just ahead of Otto. Otto's trying to get that position off of Chris. Chris hasn't made his pit stop yet, and it doesn't look like he needs to anytime soon either, so this is a disaster for Otto. He had a nice undercut done on Snipes by the looks of things, and now Snipes is caught back up to him because he's struggling behind Chris at the moment. And here we go, Otto's got a great drive out of that corner. He opts for the bump draft instead. And there's Snipes as well. So, oh, here he comes. He went for a bump at first, but now he's gone for it. Absolutely into that corner. He managed to stick it, and Chris loses traction mid-corner, loses that position to Snipes as well. Unfortunate for Chris, but a good little bit of battling between those two drivers. Pumpkin Patch is finally in the pits. Let's see what happens to him. He's only put in 36% fuel, and he's probably going for a short medium stint so that he can go back onto the softs fairly quickly. That is probably what's been calculated for him. He's actually come out perfectly ahead of Kaioken in third place, and he's 4 seconds behind Lotari, so he's come out in P2, which is fantastic for him, especially when Peachy is all the way down in 5th place at the moment. So let's see, any other battles going on, or... Well, actually, we have to join Kaioken and Pumpkin Patch. Kaioken, with very low fuel, has managed to stick to the back of Pumpkin Patch here. We've got a yellow flag. That is Lotari, has spun around on the exit of that corner, and what was a pretty perfect race up to that point has, yeah, that's hugely unfortunate. He's lost a bunch of positions there, and he's got some damage. Maybe just pushing a little bit too hard on the worn tyres, I'm not too sure. So this is all of a sudden a battle for P1. Pumpkin Patch inherits the race lead after half a lap of losing it, and has an 0.8 of a second lead on Kaioken at the moment. I think his tyres are starting to come to him a little bit now. He's got fresher mediums, maybe they just took a little bit of time to warm up, but he's starting to create a bit of a gap between him and Kaioken. I'm assuming Kaioken is coming into the pits as well. So this is going to be the last couple of cars on the opening stint by the looks of things. Yeah, in comes Turbo Tony as well. A lot more careful than Auto did. There comes Lotari. Unfortunate for him, he's dropped way down. He's lost basically a pit stop's worth of time with that. And then Auto Ration. So we know Pumpkin Patch and Peaky are P1 and 2. Is Auto about to inherit P3? Because that would be extraordinary. There's Kaioken, who overtook him, and Auto's got so deep. Is he going to keep it? He's going to lose it as a result. He got spooked wide into turn 1, and he's lost that position. Unfortunate for him, and Snipes is all over the back of him as well, so he might lose another one fairly soon. Although Auto's on the soft tyres, so he shouldn't really be giving up a position to his teammate. On the medium, Snipes is. So Kaioken also on the soft, so if Kaioken can really start to drive away from Auto with slightly fresher tyres if he's confident on these softs. Renault Power versus Alfa Romeo. We saw Auto get an overtake done here a couple of laps ago. Not going to happen this time. And there's Snipes going a little bit wide off track as well, struggling to keep up with these two at the moment. Yeah, Auto's doing pretty well here to stick close. Auto's quite heavy on fuel, and so is Kaioken. They both put in quite a lot of fuel. Peachy, on the other hand, put in about half the amount of fuel that they put in. Same with Pumpkin Patch, even less to be honest. So he's going for a short medium stint, bit of a longer medium stint for Peachy. And then a very long soft stint for Kaioken and for Auto. Snipes, an incredibly long medium stint, unless he's going to do a pit stop and not put in any fuel. So maybe that is part of the reason why he's dropped to 2.6 seconds off the back of Auto at the moment. Chris still hasn't made his pit stop. He's up in 6th, so this is an incredible first stint for Chris. He must be on ultra fuel saving in that car. I can't quite remember what car it is. It is the M6. So he must be fuel saving massively here. Unless he made a very early pit stop. I don't think he did though. I don't think he did. He can't have, looking at those lap times. So this is a phenomenal fuel saving then from Chris. And it's put him right back in the mix. He's in the points as it stands, and I'm assuming since he stayed out this late and he could do another couple of laps, I reckon, that he is going for a pit stop less than everyone else. And he's done his medium stint, so in theory he could do softs for the rest of the race and potentially make a few extra spots on the grid. Let's have a look. Let's have a wait and see. That's a good one if it turns out that way though, because that strategy didn't look good in the opening laps. So a little bit further up, Erotica's still putting a little bit of pressure on Kaioken. He's now half a second off. This would be Otto's first esports podium, if he manages it. I think Peachy managed a podium last season, and I don't think Pumpkin Patch has. He's definitely not won a race in esports. This would be a great moment for Pegasus if Pumpkin Patch gets that win. He's looked completely dominant the entire time, to be honest. And we actually have 4 different teams represented in the top 4 here as well. Yeah, really solid debut from Kaioken as well, it's got to be said. He's managed to get past Otto twice now. Yeah, and he's taken the corners pretty decently as well there. So Otto, we saw, had that little off-track moment right here on the right a few laps ago. And without that, he'd be comfortably in P2. The gap between the top 2 at the moment, look at that, Tiger livery. Wow, that's an interesting one for Arix. Wow. It's certainly unique, isn't it? So yeah, we have a 13.5 second lead between Pumpkin Patch and Peachy at the moment. It is looking like Pumpkin even has a cheeky pit stop in him to maintain a position if he needs to later on in the race. Anything can happen, obviously. There's the gravel traps here are incredibly unforgiving and even closer to the track, to be honest. You know, just going a little bit wide will take a very long time to get yourself back on track. Pumpkin Patch still with the fastest lap of the race as well. Incredible pace for Pumpkin Patch at the moment. He's 22.8, which is a really solid time. Would have been a very good qualifying time as well. I think it matched his qualifying. Snipe's still struggling. I'm still going wide at that corner. I wonder if that's going to be a penalty. I think he's getting away with it. It would have been harsh if you go on the grass fully and get a penalty for it, to be honest. Oh, here's a little battle between Turbo Tony and Chris, though. Looks like Turbo Tony's just taken the position back. Well, actually, he's given the position back to Chris. It looked like he overtook Chris, so potentially some good sportsmanship there, because there might have been a little incident that we missed. But Tony's on the softs and Chris is on quite old mediums. I think Chris might be coming into the pits as well, so hopefully Turbo does realise that. Actually, he's going on for one more lap. Turbo's going to try and get a move done on Chris then. Chris defending very early into turn 1, making his intentions very clear. It's going to be pretty difficult for Tony to get a move done around the outside there, and he tries the switch back. Chris, a couple of tyres very briefly on the gravel, but gets away with it just fine. Chris wide on the entries to that corner. Means that there's only a quarter of a second between them now. Oh, some slight contact. And he's gone for it. He's absolutely sent it up the inside, and it looks like he's got that position as well. Oh, he would have, but he nearly lost it on the exit, but he actually recovered decently enough to keep that position. So Turbo Tony in P6, and through goes Eroticos out of absolutely nowhere. So obviously Chris had to lose a bit of time himself on the exit because of that mistake from Turbo Tony on the traction, and Eroticos swoops through and is up into the top 7 once again. Great piece of work there from Eroticos. Got a yellow flag out for somebody. I can't quite see who. There we go, it's MBR Picks, unfortunately, in the wall again. And it through goes everybody else. Nice, easy. Oh, he's just getting out of the way for lapping cars, isn't he? Here comes Lotari, who put in loads of fuel, and he's found himself all the way down in 8th place now, just getting that overtake done on Chris, who's finally coming in to make his first stop of the race, 20 laps in. I have a feeling he's going to go for 2 soft stints next. He's going to have to put in a lot of fuel as well, so he's going to be at least in plenty of clear air. It'll be like a time trial stint, to be honest, until some of the other drivers start to make their pit stops. He's gone for less than half a tank and a soft stint, just as expected. He's now 59 seconds off of his teammate Pumpkin Patch, but he's got all the clear air in the world, and he's yeah, the freshest tyres that you'd like as well. The The gap almost 14 seconds now. Keoken in a solid P3 on these softs. Ooh, interesting line through that corner. But yeah, pretty solid P3. He's comfortably ahead of Otto, and Otto is now up to 4.6 ahead of his teammate Snipes as well. Really interesting to see because they're in identical cars. And before this season, Snipes, I think it's fair to say, had bags of pace on Otto, but it's nice to see Otto improving as he continues his career in ALR. So that is a 24.6 for Snipes, identical time to Otto Ration, a 23.9 for Keoken though. So yeah, Otto should be lapping quicker than Snipes right now considering he's on the softer tyres. And then a 24.4, Peachy's starting to lose a bit of time. That was a really wide exit as well. He's now at 15.3 off the back of Pumpkin Patch. He himself has started to lap a little bit slower, but he is again on the medium tyres, so you're not going to be expecting many 23s on the medium. I wonder if he's got 2 more pit stops or 1. I would assume 2. Because if you were going to do 1, you'd probably need medium tyres to the end. Which you'd want to just do 2 sets of softs, wouldn't you? The pit lane loss time is too small, surely. Oh no! No, 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 no! He just put 2 tyres on the grass and he's not facing the right way. Oh, it's lap righted itself. Okay, so his gap was 15.8 seconds, but here comes Peachy. All of a sudden, that huge advantage that Pumpkin Patch had is down to 4.7 seconds. That is over 10 seconds that Pumpkin Patch has lost there. That is absolutely gut-wrenching for him, but he is still, crucially, in the driver's seat here. He still has a fairly big gap, although it's going down again. He might have overheated his tyres, or he might have dirty tyres from going off track. He needs to get back into his rhythm very quickly, because he had the pace comfortably on Peachy, but Peachy will be very encouraged by this. Peachy's last lap was not good. It was a 25.8. I have a feeling that being able to see Pumpkin Patch just 3 seconds up the road now is going to be spurring him on. He's only a 10th down on his best lap so far now, Peachy. What was just a cruise to P2 is now a very realistic fight for the race win for the Arix driver. We're used to seeing Arix drivers win, but I don't think we've got an Arix driver who's ever won Lobby B before, so that's what Peachy's trying to do for the first time for the team. Ooh, very, very wide there. Let's see if that ends up being a penalty. He's going to get away with it. And now it looks like Pumpkin Patch has recovered his tyres from the spin, because he's starting to stretch the gap on Peachy a little bit more as well. Pumpkin Patch should still win this race, to be honest, even despite that, because of his superior pace that he's shown compared to the rest of this lobby. So, a little bit further back, let's have a quick look down the order. Everyone seems to be fairly gapped out at the moment. Erotico's down to 8th now. He's come into the pits and he's put on softs, which are pretty fresh still. Oh, and he's just left the room! He's disconnected. That is so unlucky. But that it helps Chris out a lot. He's got a free position, and it helps Lotari out, who was battling with him on track. Lotari is going incredibly long on that medium tyre. That's really unlucky, Eroticos. It looked like you had an interesting strategy playing out, trying a big undercut on everyone. Chris going quicker than he's ever done. He needs to go a little bit quicker. He needs to be in the 23s for the next few laps to get back into the mix with the points, I reckon. Completely out of position because of... oh, he's actually purple. Gets in. No one's... Oh, Pumpkin Patch is in the pits. Pumpkin Patch, after his little spin, he's going to go off the mediums. I'm assuming this is going to be soft and expecting to see less than half a tank put in. Oh, it's going to be long. Is he going on... Oh no, yeah, it is softs. Just over 50%. And he just loses that position to Snipes as well. So that's going to be a bit of a problem for Pumpkin Patch. He needs to get this position as quickly as possible, because Snipes is on 1 mediums at this point. So this is a huge spanner in the works for Team Pegasus, because Peachy has clear air and he was only about 3 and a bit seconds behind. Pumpkin Patch has the fresh tyres and should be in an advantageous position, but he needs to negotiate with Snipes, who he's not that close to. He's 0.8 of a second back. He's not really driven up to the back of him just yet. And I don't know if that's because Snipes is just on a flyer. He could well be. Oh, just as I say that, Snipes gets that corner all wrong, took a little bit too much dirt, and now the gap is just 1/4 of a second. Pumpkin Patch with so much grip around this section of the track in particular, nearly on the grass there, but manages to take the corner beautifully nonetheless. There we go, he's going to try a different angle to Snipes. He got a good exit there. The move is definitely on. Snipes going a little bit defensive, and now actually opens the door for Pumpkin Patch to get the move done into turn 1. And Snipes going to hold it around the outside. He can't do it. He's on the gravel a little bit, and that is the position for Pumpkin Patch. Solid overtake and up into P4. So now he's got 15 seconds back on Peachy. So Peachy can afford to make a pit stop, change the tyres, put in a splash of fuel, but not as much fuel as Pumpkin, I don't think, to keep that position. And he really needs to start putting in some time similar to at the start of the race when he did his 22.8. What's happening a little bit further up? Let's have a quick look. Peachy lapping in the high 24s at the moment. Last 2 laps in a row in the high 24s. Kaioken 4.5 seconds off him, doing fairly decently on that soft set of tyres. Whoa, whoa! Saves it. No big drama there. Autoration is now in P3 because Pumpkin Patch is pit. He's got 3.1 seconds on Pumpkin Patch. His tyres are probably going to run out before his fuel here. Been shredding that front left by the looks of it. Peachy is in the pits now, so let's join with Peachy and see where he comes out. So he has changed his tyres. He's put in less fuel than Pumpkin Patch, and he's coming out of the pits now. Where is Pumpkin Patch? There is Snipes. So it looks like Peachy's lost a position to Snipes and Pumpkin Patch there, and he's going to have to overtake Snipes just like Pumpkin Patch had to. And this is great news for Pumpkin. He has 3.6 seconds on Peachy, so got held behind a car and then managed to put in a little bit of a gap. He could have, well, he would have stayed ahead of Peachy, but if he'd stuck behind Snipes, to be honest. So it is looking pretty good for Pumpkin Patch at this stage of the race. We've got Auto only 2.2 seconds ahead of Pumpkin, so that's going to be a battle that we'll see soon. Auto could be helping Snipes massively here as well if he starts holding up the top guys. Kaioken with just a huge lead on his debut. So, yeah, they found a pretty decent driver here. Would have been interesting to see what he could have done in Lobby A if he'd managed to qualify. We've got Auto a solid P2. 1.6 seconds, sorry, ahead of Pumpkin Patch, who's starting to close in on him. Then we have Peachy ahead of Snipes. Snipes must have had, he's been in the wars. He's 5.7 seconds off his fastest lap, and that's why Peachy's 4.3 ahead of him. Ah, that's so unlucky. We have a close battle here between Lotari on the mediums and Turbo Tony on the softs. These are the final 2 points positions, 6th and 7th. And it looks like Lotari is looking fairly comfortable at the moment. Any battles happening anytime soon. So let's stick with Pumpkin Patch. He's on his freshest tyres. He's lapping almost as quick as his fastest lap of the race. He's got Autoration in the Alfa Romeo in front of him, just under a second ahead now. Auto's not in a rush to make a pit stop either. He might be coming in for tyres, but he certainly doesn't need to come in for fuel. And wow, that was a good few tenths of a second in a single corner chunked out by Pumpkin Patch. Yeah, and again. He's going to have to be careful in this corner because he's going to have more speed again, and he has to kind of slam the brakes on. The gap is just 0.3 of a second now. Auto gets a better exit. And he's staying out again, and he's already sticking to the inside line there. Is it going to become the outside line? Looks like he doesn't fancy. Yeah, and Pumpkin Patch backs out of it. Actually, he's gone for it, absolutely out of nowhere. Looked like a poor braking from Auto, just completely opened the door for Pumpkin Patch. He said, thank you very much, I will take that. And Pumpkin Patch up into P2 overall. Still net P1 for the race lead. And now he is 8 seconds off the back of Kaioken, who's still in no rush himself to get an overtake done, as he just puts a lap on his teammate Pix there. So it's really is hotting up at the moment. Peachy on the softs might be the next person to catch Auto, but he's 4 seconds behind, so he's got a bit of work to do there. Lap did a 24.2 on the last lap, so another one who needs to find a big improvement on these soft tyres. Oh, looks like Turbo Tony's actually kept with Atari quite well since they had their little battle a few laps ago. Turbo Tony's tyres, he's running an identical strategy to Kaioken actually. They both stayed out on the softs for a long time. I think they'll pit for tyres only in the next pit stop as well, which is a clever move because other people will be putting in fuel. You might be able to get the jump on someone. And in Turbo Tony's case, that might be Lotari, although it's not really. There's a yellow flag out for someone. Let's see who we approach with the yellow flags. Looks like they've gone. Looks like everyone, it might have been MBR Pix, he's just crossed the start-finish line as well. Yeah, it did a 1 minute 50 that previous lap. So the gap between Pumpkin Patch and Kaioken is 6.4 seconds at the moment. Pumpkin Patch is flying. Last few laps been in the mid-23s, which is pretty quick compared to the rest of this field. The gap between Auto and Peachy has decreased massively. Auto's made a mistake on this lap. He's 2.3 seconds slower than his quickest time, and that is why the gap reduced from about 4 seconds to just a single second now. Peachy really has Auto in his sights here. Arix is chasing down the V2. Now, the gap has maintained about a second between these two for half a lap now. Oh, I just to say that Auto's lost another couple of tenths. So at the moment, Peachy has some really good traction on the car. We've just finished lap 30 of 52, so we're well into the second portion of the lap. Everyone will probably make another pit stop before the end of the race, but when they come in is a big question mark. And if anyone still has to do their mediums, oh, Peachy's lost it! That was the Tier 3 champion chasing down the Tier 4 champion, and not able to do anything about it at the moment. Needs to regain his composure. He's now dropped to 2.3 seconds back. Seems to have the grip through the corners. Wow, look at those tyres. Both the front left and the rear left tyre are completely shot. He is in the red. He could potentially do another lap after this one if he chooses to, but this is looking a bit hairy on the tyre front. Auto will be losing time to pretty much everyone else on track as it stands with tyres like this. Fortunately for him, Peachy made that mistake and he's got some breathing space to actually take the corners and coast through without leaning on those tyres too much. But yeah, he is 1.5 off, and that is exactly why he made that mistake on the previous lap as well. So surely he's coming in the pits now. This is he's staying out. He's obviously just wanting to pit a single more time, probably on the next lap, and go all the way to the end. It's going to be probably softs again, because this might be the alpha way, I suppose. this is tricky. Let's just stick with Otto because a little bit deep into that corner, a little bit slidey on the exit. These tyres are cooked. You can tell they've overheated at this point. The track is too twisty to cool the tyres back down once it starts overheating as well. There's just not enough air, there's not enough straight line to take advantage of that. Excuse me. So the gap between himself and Peachy is already reduced by over a second on this lap as well. He's being careful, and here comes Peachy now. So Peachy might have another go before the end of the lap, but surely Otto has to pit at the end of this one. I don't think he has a choice now, fuel-wise anyway. So Peachy will be released and not actually get held up by Otto any more than he has done with the mistake that he made trying to get the overtake done. And yeah, Otto is indicating at everything to be like, listen, I'm going in. Peachy was aware of it, manages to get around nicely. Still does a lap in the 23s as well. So the gap, now that all the other drivers have cleared, between net P1 and net P2 is 10 seconds. And at this point you've got to ask yourself, can Kaioken even get up into second place? His tyres are looking mighty shredded as well, just like Otto's. He's only 2.4 seconds ahead of Pumpkin Patch, so he might lose some time if he stays out any longer. He's got the fuel for another lap or two. Yeah, I'm not too sure if he's got the tyres for it. This is pushing it very marginally on the tyres. Otto, by the way, comes back out in P6. He's got a lot of, well, he's got 4 seconds ahead of him to Latari. Latari's on the mediums. He's still going to go for a fairly long time. Potentially, do you think that's enough fuel to the end? No, it's probably not. It's probably not. And then Snipes a solid P4. Again, he's probably only midway through his stint, so he's going to do a short, soft stint probably at the end of this race as well. Unless he just stays and does the one stop. That would be very ambitious if he does that. No, he still has to do soft tyres. He hasn't done his softs yet. So the gap between Pumpkin and Peachy remains at around about, well, in the 10-second zone. The gap between Pumpkin and Kaioken is now only 1.8 seconds, so I think we might see an overtake for the lead on track fairly soon. We know Kaioken's tyres are completely shot at this stage. See Pumpkin Patch looking after his by upshifting before going on the throttle to take less strain on the tyres. Otto's saying he did the same entry into the pit lane and didn't get a penalty. That's strange. So he's not actually been closing the gap too much, just a tenth or two here and there. So Kaioken might actually make it back to the pits without having to defend. Although that was a good half a second in that one corner. That was a beautiful corner for Pumpkin Patch. Might not have been the quickest way around there, but the traction was beautiful. There's Kaioken into the pits finally to make his stop. Let's stick with him. Oh, he's making a bit of a clatter with the barriers. Here we go, plenty of fuel going in. I'm assuming this is to the end. I don't think there's any reason not to fuel up to the end. So he's got 64%, that is definitely to the end of the race. He's on the medium tyres as well, so he's not going to have the pace advantage of being on the softs anymore, but he is in a great position. He's got a huge lead over Latari. It is 9.5 seconds, make that 8 seconds. And 6.6 to Snipes, who has to pit again, and only 21.5 off the lead of the race. Pumpkin still lapping pretty similarly to Peachy. Snipes 4 seconds off the back. Now this is a great opportunity for Snipes. He's going to have to go on the softs at the end, but he will probably come out behind Kaioken, but be able to overtake him on track. That's how it's currently shaping up for Snipes as it stands. and he's lapping as quick as he has done as well. So he's feeling very comfortable on these medium tyres, despite the front left being nearly half worn. I know, Arata, because I'm sad for you as well. You've definitely scored points. Half second down now on his best time is Snipes. Really wide exit there, nearly fully on the grass. You can kind of get away with it doing that. Hooks the apex, gives it a little kiss. Great exit there as well. This is going to be a quick lap. 24.5 on pretty worn mediums is not a bad day at the office. 4.3 behind Peachy as well. Could potentially catch Peachy before the end of the race. Peachy's on the soft tyres as well. They're lapping pretty identical in terms of lap times. Peachy is now 11 seconds off the back. Oh, never mind, just back in the 10 range. That was the first time it increased to 11 seconds though. So it looks like it's still tipped in Pumpkin Patch's favour. Despite that big spin, he would have a huge lead at the moment without that spin. And he's still on for a fairly dominant win. Also in Lobby A, Richards in P6 overall. So this is going to be a good start for Pegasus. A single point for Chris, and then 9 points for Pumpkin Patch, and then a huge boatload of points for Richard, finishing P6 in Lobby A as it stands. Still a long way to go there as well. They're only a lap behind us though. Fairly solid lapping here from Kyogen as we follow him round these few corners. Otto is 3.9 behind Joubert. He just set his fastest lap of the race, 24 flat on these soft tyres. A full second quicker than Latari ahead of him. And again, it looks like it's going to be a similarly strong lap for Otto. He gained 0.2 of a second coming out of that corner on Latari, so he's feeling very glued in on the track at the moment. Going to cross the line. Is he going to get into the 23s? He does. A very impressive 23.6 for Otto. Still a good 0.8 off of the fastest lap of the race. That's insane from Pumpkin Patch, by the way. He's just completely in a class of his own here. It's a shame he wasn't in Lobby A, missed out by that single position, because I think he could have got a strong result with this kind of pace. And it's only a matter of time before Otto catches Latari. Now the gap is under 2.5. Otto's pushing pretty hard at the moment. Hopefully he's not pushing too hard, because he does have to potentially make the end of the race on this set of soft tyres, and they're looking a little bit worn already. Especially when you're sliding through the corner like that, that screeching that you hear is what is shredding the tyres. The more that you hear that screech, the more the tyres are going to start to overheat and lose tyre life as well. He is still gaining time. He's gained 0.3 so far on Latari. Latari must have got a very good exit from that corner. And again, a slide through the corner from Otto, so his driving style is a bit more aggressive than these tyres might enjoy, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll see at the end. 24.1 there, so another strong lap. Gap is only 2 seconds now. Yep, down into first now to start, well, to help with the rotation into the corner, but it's not, I don't think it's the quickest going all the way down to first in many cars. Here we go. The gap now, 2.1 seconds. Joubert lapping in the mid-25s, that's why he's losing time at the moment. Whoa, another huge slide there for Otto. It is very quick, quite clearly. Now the gap is 1.8. Pumpkin Patch in the pits now, making his final stop, and he's going to have to refuel. So let's see where he comes out. He should lose the lead of the race to Peachy here. Snipes isn't too far behind Peachy though. So we might have a bit of company. There goes Snipes now. They're going to be drag racing down into turn 1. Actually, it looks like Snipes is comfortably ahead. There's Snipes just entering turn 1 now. Pumpkin Patch looks like he is 2.3 seconds behind Snipes. He's got a bit of time to make up. Snipes on the mediums. He is going to have to come into the pits fairly soon. Maybe next lap anyway. So they might not actually meet on track here. And then the battle between Latari and Autoration is starting to heat up as well. Latari a little bit, oh dear. I was going to say Latari lost it a little bit on the exit, but Auto went and outdid him there, and yeah, gives Latari a huge amount of breathing space. Latari is going to have to make one more pit stop, and he's got maybe another lap or two breathing space in order to do that as well. At the front, Pumpkin Patch just warming up another set of soft tyres to start chasing down MT Snipes for V2. Richard's up into P2 now. I think people are out of position in Lobby A, but if he manages to get a podium, we were saying in the preview show, me and Pyro, that we think Richard could get on the podium in Lobby A. Anyway, Peachy is now in the pit, so let's see where he comes out. He was fairly close to, I think, Kaioken, potentially, who isn't going to have to make a pit stop. So if Peachy's comfortably ahead of Kaioken, who's I think just coming across now, there he goes. It's going to be very close, just like with Snipes. There goes Kaioken, he's comfortably ahead at the moment, but Peachy is going to be on the soft tyres. Joubert in the pits as well, Latari. He is going to potentially drop behind Turbo Tony. We saw them fighting a little bit earlier on. Here's Turbo Tony on the mediums. He's going through. You can see Latari still putting on fuel. He's just going to start coming out of the pits now. And again, Turbo Tony gets a good undercut on Joubert, and Joubert's going to have to try something different to get an overtake done on Tony before the end of the race. The last battle for the points for Chris, looking like he's a little bit too far back. Looks like he had to make an extra pit stop in the end. And he's only 17 and a half back though. And then we got MBR Pix, who's getting blue flagged a little bit here. So let's join with Snipes. He's now being caught. He is our net race leader now that Peachy's come into the pits. I think that might be for the first time Snipes is leading. Pumpkin Patch chasing him down very quickly. This is worn mediums versus very fresh softs. And Pumpkin Patch has been the man on fire so far today. Is Snipes going in or is he staying out? It looks like he is coming into the pits, and they managed to avoid any calamity there. Pumpkin once again is the race leader with 11 laps to go. Kaioken is net P2 here. This is fantastic for him. He's managed to get a gap on Peachy by 2.6 seconds. Now we've got Snipes in the pits getting overtaken by Peachy as well. It's going to be between him and his teammate Autoration for P4 and P5. It looks like Auto might get that position on him. So Snipes on the softs, Auto on more worn softs, and then Peachy on fresh softs. Kaioken ahead of all three of them, but on mediums, and Pumpkin Patch on softs. So we have to, well, basically it's going to be damage limitation for Kaioken for the rest of this race. He's done 3 soft stints, which have propped him up into P2, and now he has to do this very difficult, actually 2 soft stints, sorry. Now he has to do a very difficult medium stint against drivers who aren't too far behind. You could just see Peachy in the distance there. He might be catching up in 2 or 3 laps. Gap between Kaioken and Pumpkin Patch currently 9.5 seconds. And Peachy's gap to Pumpkin is stretched to 13. So Pumpkin getting the better of his rivals in the pit window there as well. Now let's see what Snipes can do. Snipes might be on for setting the fastest lap of the race on this next lap, so I'd like to stick with him for a little bit, because we know Snipes has incredible pace in him. And he's wound up in Lobby B 2 races in a row now that he's competed in. Got a podium last time in Lobby B, in a very competitive one actually. Contained lots of tier 1 drivers in Lago Maggiore. Hasn't had quite the pace around here, but he's been very solid, very consistent. This will be the start of his first flying lap, and it's not going to be that good. Never mind, all that anticipation, and he messes up turn 1. Oh. He's still nearly as quick as he's done so far, but I know he can do better than that. He should do better in this next split that's coming up. There we go, 3/10 up. Yeah, that is the difference because he's been on mediums for the entire race up to this point. Just normal competent laps gives you so much extra lap time on these soft tyres, which raises the question why he decided to do 2 medium stints. I'd love to know why. Catching up really nicely to Otto now. Just took 2/10 of him out in one corner. Make that another 10th. Oh no, never mind. Half-second penalty is going to completely ruin this. Now, the gap between Kaioken and Peachy has been reduced to 2.9 seconds now. So, Peachy definitely on form. Let's stick with Kaioken and see what his lap time ends up being here. Been lapping in the 24s, mid-24s so far. Low 24 this time. Compared to a 23.4 for Peachy. Very quick. Easily his quickest lap of the race. 23.4. Lotari's actually set the fastest lap of the race now with a 22.7. So remember, he was battling a lot with Turbo Tony, but it looks like Turbo's actually come into the pits again. And he's dropped, or potentially he's had a big mistake. That's more like it. No, let's give him benefit of the doubt. He was in the pits, that's why his lap 41's red. So he's dropped outside of the points, Turbo Tony, just like Pix. Chris, it has, with his different strategy that he was trying on everyone else, managed to get himself into the points as well. And yeah, Lotari, you get 2 points for P6, and he's poised to get another point for fastest laps. That's a good little bonus for the Kavar driver in P6, with his teammates currently in Lobby A. Solid driving again on this lap from Lotari. He's not going to be beating his fastest lap though. Oh, let's have a look at this battle between Snipes and Otto. Snipes caught up to Otto really well there. He's just set his fastest lap at 23.3. Really quick there, just nearly clattering Otto into the entry, taking far more speed than Otto, and the overtaking is going to be fairly straightforward. Snipes has 4.8 on Peachy and 8 laps to catch him in. It's very possible, And himself, Peachy's actually dropped a little bit on Kaioken. He's 3.3 back now because he set a lap in the 24s there. Oh, and a little bit of a dodgy entry into that corner for Snipes. Lost a little bit of time there to Peachy. The gap at the front is 12.1 for Pumpkin Patch, so still looking pretty good for his first ever win in ALR. Yeah, Kaioken's struggling a little bit on this lap, it looks like. He's managed to keep the gap to Peachy pretty well. His tyres are looking in pretty good nick, and so are Peachy's. I was expecting a little bit more ground to be made by Peachy, to be honest, but podium in Lobby B is a pretty decent day's return for Peachy. Teammates are in P2 and P7 in Lobby A, so they'll be pretty high in the championship. I think Project Platypus might leave the day in P1 because they're currently winning that race, and in P3, and in, I can't see where the other one is. I think the other one is outside the top 8. Perry, that is. Anyway, back to this race. Peachy has gained 0.3 of a second on Kaioken, but he's it looks like Kaioken's taken these corners, despite being on the mediums, pretty well. He's really minimising the loss, and you see little micro corrections from Peachy mid-corner, which does lose you a little bit of time as you make them. Make sure you get the smoothest exit. Oh, beautiful corner there for Peachy. Again, another really solid corner there. A little bit late on the throttle though, but the actual line through the corner was very strong. And he's staying in high gears to protect his tyres. And and that might be hindering his ability of catching Kaioken, but he's still got plenty of time to do it. Still in the mid-23s, which is really solid pace compared to low 24s for Kaioken. Oh wow, Snipes just set the fastest lap of the race and promptly scrubbed half of his tyre life off at turn 1. So the lap times are going down. All of the quick guys seem to be on softs at the moment, apart from Kaioken. Snipes into the corner. Well, he saved it pretty well. He's not actually that slow. Peachy is only 2.7 off the back of him now, so he's definitely on a massive charge here. Snipes could be in for an outside shout at getting P2 at the end of this race. He could see P2 in his screens now. Kaioken's easily the slowest of the three of them. Peachy seems to be getting a little bit more pace, but he's got absolutely nothing on what Snipes is showing at the moment. So yeah, nice little bit of anticipation towards the end of this one. 3 different teams as well. We got Racing United's Kaioken, and we got Arix for Peachy, and we got V2 for Snipes. And the gap is just about to drop below 2 seconds, I think, between Snipes and Peachy. Crazy the difference in the lap times, because the tyres and everything are pretty even between the two of them. Chris, it looks like he's dropped behind Turbo Tony now as well. Looks like he's set at 136 laps, so he's been in the wars a little bit. Chris outside the points now. Turbo looks like he's going to get another point for Racing United. Everyone, well, yeah, the gaps are just really wide open at the moment, apart from this battle. So let's stick with Snipes, who really clattered that corner. That's going to be a pretty slow exit for him. Yeah, he's losing time to Peachy. Peachy's only 1.5 behind Kaioken, so at the moment it looks like Peachy's going to catch Kaioken before Snipes manages to catch Peachy, but the question is going to be, will Peachy actually get the overtake done on Kaioken before Snipes catches up and starts getting involved? And it's always unlikely to happen. Pushing really hard is Peachy and having to correct his car there. The gap just 1.1 seconds to Kaioken and 2 down to Snipes. Kaioken's tyres are still in good shape for medium tyres, so he should still be able to lap very predictably and similarly to how he has been. It's just he doesn't have the pace at the moment. These soft guys are really bearing down on him pretty quickly. And yeah, here we go. Now he's going to start experiencing a little bit of Kaioken's dirty air. Kaioken going wide into the edge of that corner, taking so much of the dirt on the outside to try and carry the speed through. Now this should be a corner that Peachy can launch himself out of. Kaioken sliding through the corner a little bit there. The gap less than less than 3/10 of a second now. Bloody hell. And yeah, Kaioken again slower through this corner. Snipes is now bearing down on them as well, because he's not seeing this drop off in time, although he's making his own mistakes, which is why he's not really in the action here. So let's stick with Peachy. Really smooth cornering still, Peachy, despite the fact that he's experiencing a little bit of the dirt. Yeah, this is a Renault versus another Renault in the battle for P2, with 2 Alphas behind them. And yeah, Peachy's started to hit a bit of a brick wall here. Snipes 1.5 seconds back. We've seen he's made a few little mistakes in the middle of corners, which is the only reason really why he's not putting any pressure on Peachy now. He's got 3 more laps to try and do something. It looks like he's back on it on this lap so far. And there's a huge gap back to Otto, who's on a very worn soft. He's still got 5 seconds on Latari, whose softs are much fresher. So there could be a little change in the next 3 laps if Otto starts to struggle. Then there's a big gap back, and Turbo Tony should be fairly safe for that final point of today. But back in the battle for P2, the gap is just 0.3 of a second. Kaioken still defending massively, and he still has the worst tyres there, but Peachy going really wide on entry into that corner, loses a bit of momentum. Snipes now only 1 second behind as well. Let's join with Kaioken as we see the two drivers start chasing him down. So the gap, half a second. As long as he doesn't put a foot wrong, Kaioken, and he hits all of his apexes, he should still have P2, despite not having the tyres. It's just if he makes any sort of mistake, it's going to get punished massively here. Unless Peachy falls back into Snipes' sights, to be honest. Oh, there's Pix. Oh, he's no, blue flags. Peachy's made a mistake. Snipes goes deep as well, and that gives Kaioken some nice breathing space, and this means that Snipes, if he hadn't made that mistake, he'd have had that position easily. Peachy looks a little bit out of shape there on the entry into that next corner as well. The gap is 0.4 of a second at the moment. Snipes taking a much wider entry, and it looks like Peachy's gonna get away with it for now. Really, really close between these three. And like I said, any little mistake from the three of them is going to get massively punished, but Peachy did get away with that one. God, 50 laps in and they're both all separated by just over a second. It's crazy, isn't it? Kaioken's lapping slightly slower than on his previous lap. Still solidly in the 24s. Oh, Peachy really late on the brakes there. That's going to give Snipes an opportunity here. Peachy going very defensive. He's not going to give him that satisfaction. So Snipes going to try it around the outside. And he's going to try and switch back, and he's gone for it. And is he going to slow it down in time? He doesn't. He gets overtaken pretty easily there by Peachy. And Peachy gets that P3 for now at least. And Kaioken has even more breathing space in P1. He may be 18.5 seconds off the lead of the race, but it's looking like he's going to get a podium on his debut in esports. Not many people can say that. And Peachy's going to start closing up to him, but we've only got a lap and a half left. We're nearly on the final lap of the race. It is all starting to close in. We've also got Otto just ahead of Lutari as well. So not much between these two, with Otto on incredibly dead tyres, but he's getting away with it for now, as is Kaioken on Peachy, who's still a second behind. He needs to be at least half a second closer to be applying that pressure. Yeah, I got to commend Kaioken for actually dealing with a lot of pressure today and not making any mistakes, which is so easy to do when you're a rookie in a new league. You're getting a feel for the place, the nerves kick in. But yeah, he's done a solid job. Potentially one for Lobby A in the future. He's pretty low on fuel. Peachy's even lower. Is Peachy going to be able to finish this race? Wow. I'm going to give him... I think he'll be fine. But he's got way less fuel than Snipes and Kaioken, so he's cutting it pretty fine. This could be a bit of extra drama at the end for Peachy. Kaioken really deep into that opening corner, and now they're all line astern going into the next few corners. It's going to be a really difficult one for Kaioken over these next few ones. Looks like he goes a little bit wide, but he still has P2 on Peachy and Snipes as we head up the hill. Peachy a little bit deep there, might open the door for Snipes. The gap is still 0.3 of a second, so probably not enough into the next corner. Alpha Power versus Renault. And not much he can do now, unless he's got to go for it. He can't go for it. That might be his last opportunity. Actually, yeah, the door gets closed. And I think we have to join Pumpkin Patch, because he's just took the most dominant victory I've seen in ALR in a long time. Despite spinning, he's got a huge 19-second lead. These two are still side by side. Peachy still has the position into the last lap. The last battle for the last podium position is still on. It looks like Snipes it's just a little bit too late for him. And Kaioken is going to round the final corner and take an amazing P2 on his debut. Really well done to him. for first points for his team in ALR. Peachy P3 just ahead of Snipes in 4th place. A little bit of a battle at the end as well. Auto looks like he's done enough to keep Lotari behind, so this is a solid P5 for Auto. And then Lotari P6. Looks like Chris has managed to get back into the top 7, so 1 point for Chris. MBR Pix has already finished the race. Chris is going to finish, by the looks of things, 3 seconds ahead of Turbo Tony. And yeah, Peachy didn't run out of fuel in the end, so well done to Peachy for calculating his fuel to the last 0.1% probably to make the end there. Yep, congrats to you, Chris, on getting your points, and Turbo Tony in P8. Unfortunately, outside of the points for 2 of the 3 Project Racing United drivers, but one of them did get a podium, so pretty good for that. So yeah, that's it for me. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to quickly do the standings now. Let me just open the results so everyone can see. Fastest lap did go to Snipes in the end, so he does get V2, an extra point there. Unfortunately, Erotico's DNF'd. No points for him, as well as the 2 Project Racing United guys. But thanks for watching, and yeah, join us next week. Actually, join us tomorrow, because Tier 1